Howdy Moz fans, Paul Shapiro here, head of SEO at Catalyst. I'm here to talk to you today about programming for SEOs and marketers. Why should you learn how to program? I think there's really several key benefits to learning how to program. First being developer relations. As SEOs, we're constantly working with developers to implement our recommendations. And understanding why they make certain decisions, how they think, is really pivotal to working with them better. Technical SEO. Understanding how to program makes you a better technical SEO. Just understanding the construction of websites and how they operate really helps you do a lot better with your SEO. Automation. As marketers, as SEOs, we all sometimes do very repetitive tasks. And being able to cut down on the time spent to do those repetitive tasks is really key. It really opens up the opportunity to do things and focus more on strategy and the other things that you can't leave to automation. Leveling up your data analysis. If anyone's familiar with this number, 1,048,576, that's the row limit on Microsoft Excel. And as marketers, we're swimming in a sea of data. It's very easy to work with a data set that well exceeds that. I often work with hundreds of millions of rows of data, and utilizing a programming language like R or Python is a really good way of handling that amount of data. Lastly, literacy. It's becoming really more common in the States to be taught how to program in elementary school. So by learning how to program, you're on equal footing with the children of the world, people that may enter the workplace in the future. So you don't even have to learn how to program in depth, but I do recommend you at least understand the concepts and logic behind programming. Which language should you learn? Oftentimes I hear people say, I did a little bit of programming in college or high school, and I learned so-and-so language, and to them I say, you're in great shape. Stick to whichever programming language you're comfortable with. You don't have to start from square one. A lot of the programming languages share a common logic. But if you are starting from square one and you need to just decide on which programming language I'm going to learn today, I have two recommendations. If you're going down the path of data analysis, your primary reason for learning how to program is to work with data and do more sophisticated things with data, then I think there's no better language than Python. Python is very well equipped. There's lots of libraries designed specifically for data analysis, and it's a very much more robust language than something like R. If you're going down the path of web development, you want to be a better technical SEO, you want to understand how websites are constructed, JavaScript is an incredibly robust programming language that has boomed in usage on websites over the last few years. It's also very capable of doing back-end web development with a language like Node.js, which is just a variant of JavaScript. The only issue with learning JavaScript is I would say that you need to learn CSS and HTML first, so there's a little bit more of a learning curve than, say, learning Python. Now, I want to go through some basic programming concepts so that you walk away feeling a little bit more comfortable with the idea of learning programs, so it's a little less intimidating. The first concept I want to go through is the idea of a variable. See, these are just like algebra, like basic algebra, so if you can assign x is equal to 2 or any other value, and that we can use that later. So x plus 2 is 4. So variables can have any name, and we're using Python syntax as an example. So the first variable we have is a variable called animal, and it's equal to the value cat. This is a string, which is just a bit of text that we assign to it. Now, variables could be of many different types. So the variable number can be equal to 2, an integer. Or the variable colors can be a list, which is a type of Python array. Arrays are just variables with multiple values. So in this instance, colors is equal to red, blue, and green, and it's just denoted with the brackets. The next concept I'd like you to understand is conditions. So if-else being a basic condition that we would work with, and it reads a lot like English. So if the variable animal is equal to cat, which it is, print out the text meow. If animal wasn't equal to cat, say it was equal to dog, then we would print out woof. And that the output, since animal is equal to cat, is meow. Loops. There's many different types of loops. I'm going to use a for loop as an example. And again, reads a little bit like language, the English language. So we have a variable colors, which we know is equal to red, blue, and green. So we want to say for every value in that variable colors, print out that value. So for x in colors, print x. It will go through each one at a time, and print it out. So the first value is red, gets printed out. The second value is blue, gets printed out. And the last value is green, gets printed out, and the code ceases. And the last concept I want to explain are functions. Functions, very simply, are reusable snippets of code. So we have a very basic function here, which we define as Moz. So the function Moz, which has the value, one line of code, print WBF for Whiteboard Friday. If we execute the function Moz, it will print out the value Whiteboard Friday, WBF. So all these concepts in themselves aren't very useful, but when you start really programming, you start stringing them all together, you're doing all sorts of sophisticated things, and it becomes very, very powerful building blocks to do much greater things. Okay, so now that you understand programming, why you should do it, I want to leave you with some resources to actually learn. So the first resource I recommend is Lynda. Got rebranded LinkedIn Learning. The reason why I recommend Lynda is because many public libraries offer you a subscription for free. And there's a ton of different programming classes in there. You certainly can get a Python class, many levels of advanced Python and JavaScript. You can also learn other things, which I think is pretty cool. So definitely recommend Lynda/LinkedIn Learning. When I was learning to program originally, I actually went to the library and had to take out books and try to do it myself. Nowadays, there's tons of other resources like Codecademy. Codecademy is fantastic. It's completely interactive, so it will go through all the various concepts, and one by one, it will ask you to sort of perform them in a very logical manner so you learn it in an optimal way. Definitely recommend Codecademy. They have both the JavaScript and a Python module. The MOOCs online. If you are the person that needs a more traditional classroom environment, you can learn for free, replicating that classroom environment at home. These are websites like Coursera. A lot of the major universities offer them, their courses there. W3 Schools, which is very valuable for any sort of web development. They have very good, very basic tutorials on JavaScript and CSS and HTML and anything you might need to learn web development. Also acts as an invaluable reference guide. If you're interested in learning Python for data analysis, there's one book that I highly recommend. It is Python for Data Analysis by McKinney. It's an O'Reilly book. McKinney was the creator of Pandas, which is a very well used Python library for data analysis. So hopefully you've walked away a little less scared of programming and are excited to learn. Leave your comments in the section below. Thanks for watching. Till next time.